I want to make sure that we're giving a platform and a presence and a value to all of the diverse professionals who already are extremely accomplished, who are guild members, who are academy members and union members, who have sold shows, who are producers and writers and directors and can't get access to the rooms. Because what I see is if you have a woman or a person of color or another diverse professional in a hiring position, you will see diverse teams come up underneath them. So for me, that's a huge part of my focus.
Everyone has already pretty much said what I wanted to say, so thank you for saying what I was saying. But, you know, I come up from the point of view that great stories come from the truth of a creator, and when we're talking about scripted, or typically a writer that really knows their subject matter and knows it so well that when they sit down and write that story, it comes out and you get a beautiful script and hopefully a beautiful show. And I think the only way to really tell the truth of the diverse voices out there, diverse or minority communities, is by reaching and engaging with those creators that have their own truth that needs to be told. And I think that's where, if you ask me to diverse voices matter, they absolutely do. But I think there's still a lot more work that needs to be done in terms of giving those minority voices a chance. I'll just tell a quick story, since you mentioned Ugly Betty. It took us 4 years to get that show on the air, which was a miracle in and of itself. We were at first at NBC. We then were able to put it at ABC. The first two writers that were chosen for that show were two white women who were the flavor of the month at that point in Hollywood, who were very high-level showrunners, and they couldn't get to that subject matter. We ended up.
Their names were?
I don't want to say their names because they're still working and they're great, and I may need them. But we ended up with Sylvia Orta, who was a Cuban-American showrunner who had very little experience, had sort of limited success, and when he dove into that, into those characters, into that story, he wrote a beautiful pilot. It ended up being a beautiful show. It was a hit show for ABC for 4 years. And if it hadn't been because they gave Sylvia that opportunity, that show never happens. So it's really important, whether it's in the news business or the scripted business or the reality business, that these folks get an access to tell their truth, and within that truth, you'll have great content that'll be consumed by all audiences.
And one cherry on top, America Ferrera was a casting decision, but that casting decision created a hit show that opened the door for similar shows and critically created an executive producer and a shingle for America Ferrera. So now she is the person creating shows. So sometimes it's not just about what the face represents on camera, but what that opportunity represents, and we now have another Latina, another woman, another person of color making hiring and content decisions in Hollywood, and that's just irreplaceable.
I mean, it might be a little bit Pollyannish about this, but I think a tsunami is coming. And I think that what's happening, at least in my world and the people that I know, no offense to any of the agents or former agents on this panel, I think that they are becoming irrelevant to my world. I don't talk to agents anymore because most of the people that I talk to who are fantastic people, who are amazing filmmakers, are not represented. We end up getting them representation because it's sort of the thing to do. And I know that the bigger power brokers there's a bigger infrastructure that happens on the agency side. But a lot of that new content creator, those new voices who are very, very skilled and very, very good. And if you went to Sundance this year, you saw a ton of emerging filmmakers who are bringing themselves up, and they may not have gone to Columbia, but they're incredibly artful. And I feel as though because of social media, you are really only 1 or 2 people or phone calls away from someone who matters. And I find that I rarely have to make the phone call to an agent. I would rather not make the phone call to the agent because the agent's going to stonewall me. But I can get to almost anybody that I need to get to in 1 or 2 phone calls. So I think that tsunami is going to happen. I think that because we're all connected and because you can post something on Facebook or you can do Kickstarter, you can Facebook your friends, it's really easy to get to people. And I feel as though that's going to sort of eventually render them useless. So, and I say this, I don't even.
That's why I'm not in the business anymore.
I may be a former
Thanks for
agent
coming.
soon.